What will you do if you're the only guy in the whole school, and all of the other students are girls, and all of them isn't delinquents? And the same happens to the main character. He was in the male's bathroom and was doing his work, and all of the sudden someone opens the door, shocking him. And he says it's boys' bathroom, so do not enter. But that girl says it's empty anyway, so who cares? And all of the sudden they started to show their dumbassy for trade to see his ding-dong. And he started to run away from the bathroom. And he thinks to himself that it's been 2 months ever since he came to this school. And he really wants to quit the school. And he goes on by saying that some might think that it's in blessings. And he enters the class only to see lots of girls changing dress. And a girl started to shout at him saying that they didn't told him to come. To which he says that the bell has already rang. But that girl denies it by saying that it's their clothes changing time. And in the end they kick him out of the class. But on accident he just got hit by some big bobby. And she looked at him angrily. And he started to think that he is dead, since he is only her shoulder height. And he goes on by thinking that her bobby is so big. And all of the sudden a girl comes from the class and calls him. And goes on by apologizing to her for his sake. And that girl left him. Afterwards he says thanks to her for saving him. But she just says it was their fault for not telling that they are going to change dress. Afterwards she goes on by telling him to rely on her if he needs anything. After looking at her, he thinks to himself that she is a rare girl to find in this delinquent school. After a while she asks him if they can have lunch at the rooftop. And this made him blush. And the lunchtime comes. And at the rooftop, wind was really strong. And he suggests her that they eat downstairs. Afterwards, while collecting the papers, she says it's embarrassing to talk to boy in front of all that girls. And this made him happy since she is considering him as a boy. Afterwards he was shocked to see something. And he was looking at somewhere. And he was thinking that all this high school girls are this careless. And she asks him if he is okay, since he is sweating crazy. And he realizes that he see all the way to her cheeks. And he just tells to her that he is fine. Afterwards she started to say that you are really busy looking at my dumbassy. And he was really shocked while she is just looking at him. Afterwards she asks him 10,000 yen. If she wants to keep her mouth shut. And after hearing that he realizes that she wasn't a good girl. She is just a fake good girl delinquent. Afterwards he asks her that if she was nice to him for fake. Afterwards she tells him that it's exciting to see someone you know, rather than someone you don't know. But then he suddenly says that he doesn't want to see her like this. And then she thinks for a while. And goes on by showing her cheeks to him. And says if he wants a squeeze it will be 30K. And he was beyond shocked. And he tells to her that he won't pay her anything, since she is the one that showed it to him. And she tells it will be hell to live in this school if she said this to everyone. To which he just says he is going to change schools anyways, so it doesn't matter. While he was saying that someone opens the door with a camera on. And then that girl says changing school won't solve his problem. And she goes on by showing him the picture of them they took earlier. And says that she will put it on the internet. And all of the other girls joined in by telling him to pay extra 50K for this fan service. And then suddenly a girl jumps from the roof. And it was the girl that he bumped into earlier. And was worrying whether if she is going to join them. But she just tells them to delete that picture and leave. After hearing that she asks if he is a friend of her. But she denies it, saying who would be friend of this pervert. And she goes on by saying that she doesn't like girls that use petty tricks to prey on others. To which she replies with, if she wants to blame someone, blame him for looking at something he shouldn't have looked. And after hearing that he looked down. And she notices it. And she calls him and tells him to close his eyes. And so he did. And all of the sudden she kicked the phone out of her hands. And this shocked both of them. and she catches the phone while she sat on him. And that girl was fully flustered. While all of that is happening, she deleted the photo. And then she says that she will post her embarrassing pics on the internet. And after hearing, she stands there saying, "Try it," and see what happens. Afterwards, a girl tries to grab her from behind, after seeing that he tried to stop them from fighting themselves. But that girl suddenly punches him in his face. And this shocked everyone. And in the end, he got knocked out. And after a while walking down, she says sorry to him. To which he says it's okay since they all ran away anyways. And he looks at her and she looks little down. And then he asks her to show up sooner, if she was going to help her anyways. To which she says she wasn't trying to help him. And she came near them to hear what they were talking, since it looked like they are having fun. After hearing, he says that's surprisingly nice. And then she slams him by saying that she saved him. What do you mean by surprising? And she goes on by saying that earlier he bumped into her, so now they are even. Afterwards, she comes close to him asking if he got problem with that. To which he shouts that when he entered to this school, he never met a good girl. And he says that she is different from others. And he goes on by saying that girls like her are the cutest in the world. After saying that he was shocked, since he said something outrageous. And he realizes that she turned fully red. And then she turns back and leaves. And then she jumps from the stairs. He saw everything, and after landing on the ground, she says her name as Kuzuryu Hanako, and asks his name. To which he says as Satomu Hodaka. And Hanako leaves by telling him to call her if he ever get into trouble. And he realizes that in a school full of bad girls, she also looked like one. But now, after seeing her innocent-looking pants, she is definitely not a bad girl. And in the end, he decides to stay in this school and survive. And then on the next day, it was a train station which is the nearest stop to his school. And this whole station will always be filled with full of high school girls. And inside the train, he was standing in the middle of girls. And then a girl looks at him angrily, saying that he just touched her cheeks. But after hearing that, he replies with his hands are holding the bags, then how it will be him. She tells him that she is going to end him. Afterwards, I'm the end. He had his hands in the air full of the train ride. And he thinks to himself that one careless move he will be framed as a criminal. If it wasn't Hanako saving him, he would have been doomed. And he thinks to himself that today he can't really make a mistake. 'Cause today is a fashion class. And a girl asks him to measure her faster. And he tells her to not move. And she makes a sudden noise. And he says it 92 centimeter. And he takes a note. Afterwards, she asks him if he got tempered. To which he says he didn't. And another girl opens it more, asking him if he got tempered now. And he says he wasn't while closing his eyes, since he was in the classroom. Afterwards, he thinks to himself that in this high school, for the first years, all the classes have different lessons. And Class B having business class. And Class C having a cooking class. And for the Class D, they have fashion class. Afterwards, she asks him to remove his dress so they can measure him. But he says that he can do it for himself. And all of the sudden, all the girls grabs him and starts to remove his dress. Afterwards, she thinks to herself that his nipples are cute. And he tells her to just do the measurements. And she tells him it's gross, since he is getting tempered in the middle of the class. And he was thinking that he can't hold on for any longer. And she even says that she is feeling so hot. But then the bell rings. Afterwards, the teacher tells them to finish the job before the next class. And after hearing that, they started to shout at Satomu. And says they didn't complete it because of him. And they tells him to finish their work for them as well. And he was walking down the hallway, thinking that there are too many. And suddenly he bumped into someone. And he falls down. And to his surprise, it was Hanako, and she says, "It's you again." And after seeing her, he realizes that her gym clothes look so erotic. And he started to measure her size by looking at her.